With threats to our nation waiting around every corner, adaptability is more important than ever. When conditions change without notice, quick strategic thinking is crucial. And with obstacles consistently impending, determination is essential in overcoming them. It's this willingness, decisiveness, and resilience that sets Marines apart. With our fighting spirit, we don't just fight battles, we win them. Marines are the constant our nation counts on to fight the unknown. And through adaptable problem solving, we do just that. Learn more at marines.com.
You know, at the end of the day, we cannot be satisfied, and we're always striving to get 1% better. And what I'll tell those guys is, hey, these are the 5-6 things that came up in this game that didn't hurt us. But once we start facing teams where that athlete is just as talented as you, or he is even better than you, that offensive coordinator is extremely dynamic. At that point in the season, as we get to a later point in the season, that can show up, and that will hurt us.
Today we take a look at how three coaches approach the evaluation and adjustments to their defense to continue on the right track or to make adjustments when necessary. We're joined by head coach of Mars High School in Pennsylvania, Eric Kasperowicz. Coach Kasperowicz won 2 state championships at Pine Ridgeland High School, going 85-18 in his 8 seasons there, including 4 WPIAL championships. We're also joined by the defensive coordinator of the defending NCAA Division III national champion North Central College, Shane Dierking, and finally by Ty Gower, the defensive coordinator of Princeton High School in Texas. These 3 coaches give insight into how they view the successes and challenges that their defenses face and how they continue to adjust and coach them throughout the season. What you see on tape is a direct reflection of what you teach and how you teach. Video is important, but if you don't teach well, you're not going to like what you see on your video. First Down Playbook has been helping coaches teach better for 13 years. It allows you to present installs, playbooks, and practice cards in half the time with NFL quality. Coaching tools like video pairing, a player app, practice schedules, and wristband sheets have made First Down Playbook a program management system with everything in one place. If you're in a position of leadership with your football program, receive a free 1-week look at First Down Playbook. Call them at 512-814-6158 or visit them on their website or social media. Mention Coach and Coordinator Podcast or use the coupon code COACH24 to receive a $100 discount off the normal $700 First Down Playbook team membership price. Links and the phone number are in the show notes. As coaches, we know that some of the biggest hurdles to our team's success can come from off the field. Your team needs support to tackle the endless list of expenses, uniforms, training equipment, travel, and more. But raising that money can feel like a full-time job. Thankfully, there's Vertical Raise. Vertical Raise is the premier online fundraising platform using innovative technology to create the easiest and most efficient system available. Raise more money in less time with a local fundraising coach who works with your team every step of the way to customize the ideal fundraiser. With options for online donations, digital discount cards, premium product sales, and even spirit shops, Vertical Raise has top-of-the-line solutions for every fundraising style. To find out more, visit verticalraise.com and we'll get you connected with an exclusive offer on your first fundraiser. First up is Eric Kasperowicz, the head coach of Mars High School in Pennsylvania. He shares his thoughts on being able to accurately define the successes of a defense and then asking the right questions in order to make improvements.
Broad picture, kind of macro from the outside in. Well, how many points you letting up a game? There's at the end of every game, everybody talks offense, but I learned about, 8 years ago, met with Don Brown when he was at Michigan and other, coaches I really look up to when you're just making the clinic circuit and going around talking to people. What are they tracking? So I made a spreadsheet up that tracks about, 22 to 25 different defensive statistics. Obviously points let up, not just points let up, but points let up just from your varsity group. If you're a team that might, blow some teams out. How many points per possession? That's a big one that I've been tracking lately. If you're a no-huddle team in your offense, if you're a defense in a no-huddle system, you might see 12 to 13 possessions a game, whereas if you're a defense in a team an offensive team that likes to run the ball and milk the clock, you might only see 6 or 7, 8 possessions a game. So, some of that data might be skewed. You might be letting up, less points per game where you're only seeing 6 series versus a team that's a no-huddle defense and they're seeing 12 series a game. So we really track points per series. That's one of our main indicators. A lot of other things, runs against, rushing yards, passing yards, all your basic defensive statistics. We're tracking that week to week to week to week to see how we're doing. So that's just kind of a general macro thing, nothing special there. And then also kind of as you're going, what type of offenses have you played? What type of teams have you played? Or what's their record? I mean, if you're letting up 0 points a game, but the 3 teams you beat are 0-5, well, you need to step back and understand that, that might not be very accurate again. So really just kind of looking at the numbers at that point, understanding, again, on the opposite side of that, maybe you played 3 teams that are 10-0 and you're getting your butt kicked. Maybe you don't full sail change everything you've done for the past 6 months, and really just kind of taking back and looking at just from a broad spectrum, with an open mindset of who you played, how they've been, and how you're doing, accordingly.
When you see some of those areas of weakness, whatever it might be, what kinds of things are you working then to fix that? I mean, is it a micro approach? Is it a macro approach? What's the best recommendation for getting things fixed as you get into, the middle, the late half of the season?
It's more of, at that point, just say you're letting up a crap load of rushing yards. Maybe you're good versus the pass, but you can't stop the run. Well, that's where it becomes micro and breaking it down. Well, why aren't we stopping the run? Are we not fitting the run correctly? Are we fitting it right and getting out athleted? Are we fitting the run and missing tackles? And really just tracking all that data. And why are we giving up big yards? Is it a big play? Maybe we're stopping, and all of a sudden, they pop a big play on us. So really just trying to figure out and get to the root of what the problem is. And then at that point, mid-season, there's still time. You got to address that immediately and for lack of a better term, kind of put a plug in that dam so that you kind of at least stop the bleeding a little bit and can get back on track. And again, for me, it's a week-to-week thing, but by mid-year, whether you're 3-0 or 0-3, there's still time. So you're taking a step back and, really looking at the data. And one other thing, Keith, I think that really helps, other than you as the coordinator or the play caller on defense or whatever your role is, it is good to have, an outsider's view, whether that's maybe the offensive coordinator, somebody on the offensive side of the ball, and maybe taking a look at it and get it from a different eye. You're so focused in on what you do and what you expect your kids to be doing. But if it ain't working, or for the other side of that, if it is working, well, why is that? And just getting somebody else's opinion, I think, could be very helpful there as well.
Next, the defending national champion North Central College defensive coordinator Shane Dierking shares how he approaches keeping his defense motivated and focused on the big picture so that the current success does not overshadow areas needed for improvement.
I think once you get to the midseason, you're starting to find your identity as a defense, right? By that point, you should feel pretty comfortable, right, about your personnel, right? Who's your best 11, and then your next few, right, within your sub packages. But really to keep our guys motivated, you have those defensive weekly goals. And for us, right, total yards, rush yards, per pass attempt, completion percentage, 2 or less touchdowns, 0 points after sudden change, defensive score, yes or no, 2 or less explosives, right, which is just 20 yards, run or pass, 3 or more takeaways, 3 or more sacks, and then we always want to be under 30% with third down, fourth down combined conversion percentage. And then our tackling efficiency, we always want to be 85% and above. So that's something when the kids come in. On Sunday, when we review the Saturday game, there was a few games where we got shutouts last year that with those 12 goals, right, we were still at 7 or 8. And when they see that red, that we didn't hit a goal, that's a motivating factor. And I think we've got to be extremely critical with how we grade, especially, if it's a team where, hey, we should go out and we should dominate this football game. But the little things that didn't hurt us in that game could hurt us down the road. And those need to be addressed, even if the scoreboard is favorable to us. At the end of the day, we cannot be satisfied, and we're always striving to get 1% better. And what I'll tell those guys is, hey, these are the 5-6 things that came up in this game that didn't hurt us, But once we start facing teams where that athlete is just as talented as you, or he is even better than you, that offensive coordinator is extremely dynamic. At that point in the season, as we get to a later point in the season, that can show up and that will hurt us. And that will impede us to what we want to accomplish down the road. So always focusing on the now, but having the kids see the bigger picture. When those mistakes don't hurt us, at some point they will, and then focusing on those throughout the week to make sure we get those corrected through practice.
In terms of the presentation of those to the players, is it a board in your locker room? Is it part of the meeting? How are you guys presenting that to your players so everybody hears it and knows what the plan is?
Yeah, that's the first thing we do when we meet as a whole defense on Sunday, right? So we put up the PowerPoint with all of those goals, right? Whether it was green, meaning we accomplished it, or red, which is we didn't accomplish it. And then from there, right, underneath, we have all the big hitters, the things that we needed to improve upon from that week, the issues that came up, right, mistakes that were made, things that need to be corrected, and then we hand that out to each of the players. So then when they have their day off on Monday, right, they go back with their graded sheets and they go back, review it, but then also look back at the big universal defensive, philosophy or techniques or eye discipline things that we need to get corrected moving forward that week.
We finished with Ty Gower, defensive coordinator of Princeton High School in Texas. He talks about looking at the health status of his team, what the self-scout shows, and an approach to making improvements without removing things that they may need as answers down the line.
Great question. So one of the things I look at, obviously, with the attrition rate, what's your injury situation look like? You got through week 5, week 6. Are you healthy? And hopefully you are. But that's when you got to go back to August, even before that, to your spring, summer, August install, and you don't have that panic of, oh no, one of our backers is out. What do we do now? So I always look at midseason and what's our health status look like. 2, after every ball game, I always put in our self-scout, right? And I'm going to put in, obviously, our down distance, yard line gain, hash, was it efficient? Was it not? What personnel package are we in? What's the defensive front? What's the blitz? What's the stunt? What's the coverage? What's the check? What is their offensive formation, their offensive play, their offensive blocking scheme, their offensive pass pro? Did they take a shot with the really good, Division I receiver? So I think self-scout is extremely important and vital after your Friday night ball game, that you put it in, and you put in so many columns, and I don't even know how many columns that we put in on after a Friday night. But some may say it's overkill, and I would probably agree with you. But I also think you get that week 5 and week 6, whether let's say whether you're 5-1, 4-2, 3-3, what's hurting you? Why are people getting? Is it the explosives that are getting you? And is it the same explosive? Is it they're throwing the shot on your corner, you're not giving him any help, or is it a certain run scheme to a 3-man surface that you're getting crushed on? Is it it's a quarterback and running back, and you're getting some type of zone read, Zier offense type stuff? So when it comes to middle, week 5, week 6, middle of the year emphasis and organization, 1, again, what's your health status? 2, what are people doing that is hurting you? Because we've been there. Offense, defense, special team, doesn't matter. You're going to get hurt, from a schematic issue. I mean, somebody's, that's why they game plan. That's why they work on the weekends, right? Somebody's going to get you. So you got to have a plan. I go back to the August install and having enough bullets to fire. I always want to have enough bullets to fire, always. But I know I'm going to look at myself scout week 5, week 6 and go, man, that really hurt us here. Okay, now why and how do we fix it? So, because again, I've got a lot of install, and game plans are different, but I hope it's up and it's like, hey man, we did this on August 9th and now it's October 9th. We've run this in practice, and the kid, the 16, 17-year-old kid knows how to do it already. So it's not a schematic deal. It's a what's hurting us, what's getting us, because you know how your week 3 opponent did it, your week 4 opponent did it, your week 5 opponent did it. That hurts you, hadn't made the adjustment yet. So I think that's why self-scout is so critical and crucial to your overall success during the middle of the season.
Now, when you do find some of those things, do you like to, you do a lot of same as teaching. So for you, is it looking at maybe doing something a little bit different to maybe solve that problem? Or is it scaling back on things, maybe simplifying things and focusing more on technique? Or is it a combination of the two?
So, we've always had those years where it's like, man, do we need to, we go from the Cheesecake Factory menu to the In-N-Out menu, right? But again, to me, I was going to have enough bullets to fire, because it's that one night that you say, man, I wish I had that bullet. I wish I had that one more in the chamber that I could fire at them. And you say, well, we haven't worked in 4 weeks. So that's one thing that I think about too, obviously from a personnel standpoint, right? We always look at it, and as a coach, I made calls that I go, man, that was a dumb call. That was a bad call, for that situation, that play, that hash, whatever it is. But I think we got to look at our personnel too. Are we doing the best job we can in our indie periods, our pod periods, and our group periods? And we've never had a perfect game. Nobody in the NFL has, coached it or played it. I mean, obviously, but I think it's where you go back to the drawing board and say, is there a better way to coach this, to teach this, to get this kid to do what we're asking him to do? That's what it is. I mean, it's a classroom, right? The football field's nothing but a classroom. Teacher coaches and coaches teachers. So, but I never want to get to the whole, man, let's scale it back. No, let's keep pushing forward, and let's just find a different, better way to coach this kid. And or there comes that, hey, maybe we might need to make the personnel adjustment, right? And when I say going from a 3 down to a 4 down, which is always a possibility.
The art of coaching is making adjustments. That's where good coaches separate themselves. In order to do that, you have to be in tune with the analytics that matter, the state of your team, future needs, and a plan to continue to motivate and teach your team to reach their full potential. Keep tuning in to Coaching Coordinator for insight from coaches presented in a manner that addresses the part of the season that is right in front of you. Check the description for related resources from today's guests, and find the entire catalog of season episodes on coachingcoordinator.com or in your favorite podcast app.